Yes. Hi everyone, my name is Chris Harrop. Thanks today for joining our Machinery of Government webinar. I'm going to hand over to Julia.
Great, thanks Chris. Thank you everyone for taking the time to join us today. My name is Julia Topless and I'm the Digital Practice Lead at Salsa Digital. I've been working in digital for nearly 30 years, with the past 5 deeply focused on driving government digital transformation. It's been an incredible journey, helping agencies navigate change, improve user experience and delivering services that truly meet community needs. On the session today is my friend Akhil Bandari, who is responsible for business development at Salsa Digital. Akhil has heaps of experience working through MoGs during his previous 8 years working at Department of Communication and the Arts. Unfortunately, Akhil is not feeling so good, so in an effort to preserve his voice and energy, we'll be relying on me to deliver this webinar. Akhil is here though to provide lived insights and answer any questions you may have. I'm really excited about today's session and I look forward to the insights we'll be sharing. So to kick off today, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I am located on today. We recognise their continuing connection to the land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. We want this webinar to be useful and help out on your upcoming MoG transformation. As a result, we have designed this webinar for digital producers, product owners and transformation managers, website and content governance teams. The session will also be useful for CX, IA, UX, content strategists, ICT managers and platform owners. Basically, we have tried to design this webinar for everyone facing the challenge of a current or upcoming MoG. We know from experience that MoG changes go far beyond an org chart update. They touch everything from ownership of web content to branding, service continuity, stakeholder engagement, and more. So today we're going to focus on 3 key areas: strategic risk, continuity, and capability. Why these 3? Because during a MoG, there's always a risk of misinformation, missed updates, or digital services falling through the cracks. But with the right governance, clear execution, and genuine partnership across teams, we can enable seamless transitions that uphold trust and keep services running smoothly. At Salsa Digital, we're privileged to work closely with government agencies at all stages of digital maturity. And we approach this work with humility, knowing that no 2 MoGs are ever quite the same, but the need for calm, clear-headed digital leadership is always constant. Let's dive into what that looks like in practice. Now that we've set the scene, let's take a closer look at the strategic digital impacts that typically arise during a machinery of government change. While the public sees a headline or a media release, for digital teams, MoG changes can quickly create pressure points around continuity, compliance, and citizen experience. We're talking about things like outdated or duplicated content still live on multiple websites, accessibility and legal compliance risks from rushed publishing, search engine visibility issues caused by site migrations and broken redirects, and of course, fractured ownership or unclear approval paths. On the operational side, these changes ripple through to information architecture, SEO, technology platforms, and most importantly, the people responsible for making sense of it all. So how do we reduce risk and keep momentum? This is where a delivery partner can really help to de-risk the complexity and accelerate outcomes by providing structure, tools, and extra capacity when internal teams are already stretched thin. In today's session, we'll walk through a practical example that we've recently encountered where we supported an agency through this process, through audits, content governance frameworks, stakeholder alignment, and delivery at speed without compromising quality. And finally, we do want this to be a conversation. So after this session, we'll open things up for an interactive Q&A. Please feel free to post any questions you have in the chat. We're keen to hear your challenges and share ideas. Okay, so let's shift the lens slightly now. One of the key messages we want to emphasize today is that a MoG isn't just a structural or policy change. It's a digital continuity challenge. While the headlines focus on where functions move and which ministers are responsible, digital teams are left asking, who owns this content now? Has anyone updated the user journey? And where did that critical metadata go? Let's take a look at just a few of the common risk areas that emerge when MoG changes roll through a digital environment. So, content accountability vacuum. Often no one knows who owns what anymore. Pages are left unreviewed, critical updates stall, and misinformation risks increase. This gets noticed both internally and also by the public. Fragmented user journeys. When services or information are split across old and new websites, users get stuck. Navigation patterns break down and the citizen experience suffers, especially for vulnerable cohorts. Lost metadata SEO IA structure. When content is moved or removed quickly, valuable SEO and IA groundwork can be lost. Redirects go untracked and visibility in search engines drops, sometimes for months. Design system misalignment, different brands, outdated components, and inconsistent styling between merged departments can erode trust, and fixing that retroactively takes time and coordination. Access and governance breakdowns. Who has permissions to publish? Who approves content now? These questions often don't have immediate answers, and without clear governance, publishing slows or can stop. All of this means that a MoG requires more than just good intent. It requires coordination, clarity, and proactive risk management. And this is where digital leadership, both internal and external, can make a real difference. Let's talk about what happens behind the scenes when a machinery of government change hits, particularly following an election. MoG changes introduce digital complexity and goes far beyond simply updating logos or department names. These challenges are amplified in federated environments where different teams, divisions, or even agencies manage their own content, infrastructure, or digital processes. It becomes even more complex when there's multi-agency overlap or shared responsibilities for a website or digital service. We're dealing with interdependencies across multiple layers, and it's just if one of these just breaks, it can create friction across the whole ecosystem. For instance, web infrastructure might be spread across outdated systems, multiple hosting environments, or different CMS versions. Information architecture may be fragmented. Each agency or division might have its own IA, making it harder to align under a new structure. Publishing workflows may be decentralized, with various teams controlling different sections, or centralized in a way that creates bottlenecks post-MoG. And when it comes to performance reporting and WCAG compliance, ensuring continuity, data accuracy, and accessibility across merged or split sites is a real operational challenge. These aren't just technical hurdles. They impact user experience, compliance, governance, and ultimately public trust. So as we unpack MoG further, keep in mind that the complexity isn't just organisational, it's deeply digital. Okay, so now let's drill down into some of the core operational risks we commonly see during a MoG change. These risks aren't hypothetical. They're issues that surface quickly when the restructure begins to affect your content workflows, platforms, and user experience. And if left unmanaged, they can compound into compliance breaches, reputational damage, or service disruption. Here's a breakdown of what we most often see across key areas of digital delivery. So the first one is content, and that's when responsibilities shift, pages can lose owners, some content gets duplicated while other parts go stale. This creates confusion for users and in some cases leaves the department exposed if critical information is wrong or missing. IA navigation. Users rely on intuitive paths to get to services and information. If journeys aren't remapped after a restructure, we start to see task failure. People can't find what they need, and call centres or frontline teams start to feel the pressure. Brand and design. When multiple departments merge or rebrand, rollout timelines often vary. Some pages get updated, others don't, leading to visual and functional inconsistencies that can confuse users and in some cases create WCAG compliance risks. SEO. MoG changes often involve site restructuring, decommissioning, or redirection. Without a mapped redirect strategy, it can be easy to lose SEO value. In some cases, a focus on URL redirects is needed, with baseline tracking metrics to mitigate page performance and access issues to critical content areas. And then finally, approvals. We often see approvals workflows grind to a halt when no one's sure who can sign off. This leads to delays or ad hoc decisions made outside proper processes, which can cause quality and consistency to drop. Each of these risks feel small in isolation, but during a MoG change, they're all happening at once and often under tight deadlines. In the next section, we'll provide some tips on how to tackle this work when time is not on your side. Okay, so one of the toughest parts of a MoG transition is the time frame, or rather the lack of one. Often you're working to very tight deadlines, for example, just days to a few weeks for ministerial site updates, and typically 4 to 8 weeks for larger restructures and site relaunches. That's a very short notice to rebrand, restructure, and reset digital assets, often while everything is still moving underneath. And during that time, digital teams are being asked to do 5 things at once, each of them critical and none of them optional. Here are the 5 things digital teams need to look out for. Mapping accountabilities. You need to quickly establish who owns what, content, platforms, approvals, and governance. This often has to happen before new org charts or reporting lines are fully confirmed. Aligning to the new structure, whether it's IA, URLs, or page content, everything has to reflect the new department names, functions, and ministerial responsibilities, and ideally without confusing users or duplicating effort. Retaining SEO and brand continuity. Even with content changes, you still need to preserve your search visibility and citizen trust. Redirects, metadata, and consistent component use become absolutely essential during this phase. Migrating while keeping BAU alive. For some agencies, there's no pause button. While you're reshaping the site, teams still need to publish updates, respond to ministerial briefs, and deliver day-to-day communications. MoG work often has to run alongside everything else. And then finally, reporting on accessibility and policy adherence. Across all of this, WCAG compliance and adherence to digital service standards must still be met, especially if you're operating under whole of government platforms or policy frameworks. This level of activity under that kind of pressure is where clarity and triage becomes your best allies. In the next section, we'll discuss the role of a strategic delivery partner and the benefits of using an external resource to facilitate a speedy transformation. Okay, so at this point, unless you're a larger agency or have a well-staffed publishing team, many agencies find themselves at capacity, trying to manage a MoG transition while keeping the lights on for day-to-day operations. And that's where a strategic partner can make a real difference, not just in execution, but in reducing risk, adding structure, and accelerating outcomes. Using an external resource can be a strategic tool to instill a time is money approach to the project, which ensures that all team members are focused on achieving the task at hand as expeditiously as possible. At Salsa Digital, we've supported dozens of government departments through restructures and realignments. Our role is to come in quickly, bring clarity, and act as a stabilizing force through the complexity. Let's have a look at a few ways the right digital partner can help you. IA and content restructuring at scale. We help you assess, triage, and restructure your content, whether you're merging 3 sites or transitioning 1,000 pages into a new IA. Design system alignment. We ensure seamless adoption of whole of government systems like Victoria's single digital presence, New South Wales 1CX or GovCMS, keeping components consistent and accessible across your web presence. SEO triage and redirect strategy. We develop structured redirect plans and metadata continuity frameworks, especially important for migrations, to protect your search visibility and avoid public confusion. Agile delivery teams with surge capacity. So at Salsa, we augment teams that can scale up quickly across UX, dev, content, and testing, so your internal team aren't stretched to breaking point or can focus on other BAU activities. Governance frameworks and MoG playbooks. We bring our years of experience, proven tools, and repeatable methods for content ownership, publishing workflows, and governance roles, so you're not starting from scratch. And finally, neutral facilitation across departments. Often the trickiest part of a MoG is alignment across multiple stakeholders. We act as a neutral facilitator, bridging teams, calming tensions, and keeping the focus on users. Whether you need quick triage or end-to-end support, partnering with a delivery team like ours means you're not navigating this change alone. You'll have a structured plan, expert hands on deck, and a trusted team to help you move fast without cutting corners. Now let's have a look at this in practice. To bring this all to life, here's an example of a MoG transition we recently supported involving a major move post-MoG for a government agency. The MoG brought together several agencies under a new structure. In total, we were working with 3 existing websites, each with different ownership models, technical stacks, and content maturity levels. 2 sites were direct migrations. These had mostly standard content types and service information. We mapped their content to the new IA, aligned design components, and ran workshops with business teams to identify current content with a focus on keep, edit, and rewrite, and used automation scripts to migrate content to the new platform. One site was being decommissioned with content to be split between 3 different departments. This one required intensive content analysis. We needed to divide pages, assets, and governance responsibilities between 3 entirely separate departments, each with their own branding, messaging, ministerial reporting lines, and digital objectives. We conducted a content audit, facilitated meetings to separate and identify ownership, and structured the transition through a governance playbook. This final site also housed complex web-based applications. These web apps couldn't be moved due to technical restrictions and constraints, so we supported a hybrid strategy. We provided advice on government-grade hosting options, provided services and support on replatforming, and for the MoG site, we designed branded landing pages to preserve user journeys and created persistent redirects to external applications, maintaining UX continuity and service integrity while minimizing the disruption. So our role, we worked across IA, content accessibility, technical integration, and stakeholder facilitation. We delivered a full triage, managed live platform work while BAU continued, and coordinated with agencies' team to ensure a clean, compliant go live. Most importantly, we acted as a neutral partner during a high-pressure period, bridging digital, policy, and comms teams, and ensuring the citizen experience stayed consistent throughout the change. This is the kind of complexity that's hard to manage internally, especially when you're working across multiple departments, platforms, and teams. With the right delivery support, it becomes not only achievable, but a genuine opportunity to improve what comes next. Okay, so as we wrap up, we want to leave you with a simple message. If you need help with your MoG, what you need isn't just any vendor, you need a trusted strategic partner. At Salsa Digital, we don't just drop in to tick boxes or deliver to a brief. We work alongside you to solve complexity, align stakeholders, and deliver outcomes that are future-proof. Let's break that down. So advisory. We work with leadership teams to help them navigate ambiguity, where responsibilities are unclear, where digital risks haven't been surfaced, and where early decisions have long-term impact. Close support. We work closely with your teams. We can simply advise, augment your team, or carry out work for you to supplement internal capability, especially when you're stretched thin. Whether it's content, IA, tech, or delivery, we work as an extension of your team. Execution. We get things done. Our agile delivery teams are experienced in working to tight deadlines without compromising quality. We bring structure, velocity, and confidence to delivery. Proven track record. And we've done this before, supporting complex MoG transitions, platform consolidations in the public sector for both state and federal government agencies. If your department is planning, preparing for, or in the middle of a MoG, we'd love to partner with you to reduce risk, increase clarity, and support your team every step of the way. Okay, so to completely wrap up, here are our top tips for navigating MoG changes effectively. First, don't wait for the restructure announcement. Start by reviewing the Australian Government's Digital Service Standard, as well as the editorial style guide and design system documentation that's relevant to your jurisdiction. You can start to map your current state, including the site's information architecture, run content audits, and focus on what can be archived to minimize the footprint you need to work with and identify any governance gaps. Second, move quickly to establish content ownership. This is one of the biggest blockers we see. Content without an owner becomes content at risk. Third, ensure your IA is aligned to the new organisational structure. It's a simple but powerful way to create clarity for both users and internal teams. Remember, some IA structures can be fluid and flexible, where others are much more opinionated. To get clarity on this, make sure you make contact with the platform team early to ensure you understand the framework you need to be working to. 4, don't overlook SEO and redirects. Losing search visibility and public trust can happen overnight if this isn't planned for properly. 5, make sure your design system updates are applied consistently, especially for accessibility and brand alignment. A phased rollout can work well here. 6, use the disruption to your advantage. MoG can be a great moment to clean up old, irrelevant, or duplicate content that's been lingering for years. 7, don't be afraid to bring in external support. Delivery partners can bring not only bandwidth but perspective, helping you move faster while remaining compliant and user-focused. And then finally, 8, be pragmatic with your approach. Focus on what can be accomplished with what you can achieve based on the time and budget you have available to complete your objective. These actions help ensure that even amidst organisational chaos, your digital footprint remains stable, trusted, and effective. Okay, so thanks so much for your time today and for diving into what we know is a really challenging but critical part of government digital work. We've covered a lot of ground, from the strategic risks of MoG transitions to operational triage, content governance, and the role of delivery partners. Now we'd love to open it up to you. Whether you're currently in the thick of a MoG, preparing for one, or just curious about how others are navigating these changes, we're here to help. So please feel free to ask any questions, big or small. And if there's something you'd rather raise one-on-one, we're happy to follow up after this session as well. So let's open the floor. Chris, have there been any questions in the chat?
Let me have a quick check. Just one during the presentation. There was one during a MoG change. How do you stay on top of things like broken links, redirects, or missing metadata? And is there a tool that you found really helpful for spotting and fixing these kinds of SEO issues?
It's a good question. Akhil, what are your thoughts? I'm thinking Screaming Frog as a good tooltip.
Yeah, there are, sorry, my throat. There are a few tools that can be used, so depending on how big a site is and what you can actually get access to, yeah, using a tool would be really useful. I think Screaming Frog's the one we've used. Flagging things quickly, you know, if you've got a large site especially, can help using a tool that can run over the pages that are there.
Thank you, Akhil. Chris, are there any other questions? Is there anyone on the call who would like to speak up?
You can try raising your hand.
Yeah, Chris, you're on mute.
Sorry, yeah, I think they have to use chat. I think the microphone's disabled for participants today. But there's nothing else on there, so unless there are urgent questions, we might call a close to this session today. So thank you, Julia, and thanks, Akhil. I know you've been sick, so thanks for joining today with a poorly voice. But thanks, everyone, for today. If you've got any questions, obviously reach out to the team. We'd be excited to hear from you. Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.